Hi, welcome to the Blackpool 2014 Play Blackpool 2014 report. Me and my missus went down on the Friday. We decided to spend an entire weekend doing as much as we can. Unfortunately, she came a bit ill before we went down. She was quite coughing. She went to the drop-in centre on the Sunday and then was told that she had an infection in the tonsils. She's still a bit unwell now, but she didn't want to be stuck in all day, so we did as much as we could. So this video is basically going to be, the basic report and additional bits we did. Well, I say the additional bits, it's more going to be because I played other games as well that wasn't in Play Blackpool, but you'll find that out anyway. So on with the first picture, and the first picture is the retro gaming section. You'll see the arcades in the background. We've got my missus playing Repton on the BBC computers, and this is the further end of that area. I didn't play much in this area, to be honest. So the next picture is to the left of us on that side, with an Atari ST playing Stunt Car Racer, which I did try and have a quick go at as we're waiting for one guy to get away from get off the BBC, and for some reason it just wasn't working. I'm not sure. I'm not a big fan of keyboard input anyway. I mean, it's not so bad on some systems, but others I just can't. It's easier for me to play around with the zip stick or whatever joysticks are there. This is the end of the table with two acorns. I think the one on the left is an Archimedes. I could be wrong. So if somebody basically tells me I'm wrong, let me know which one it is. The one on the right is an Acorn Electron, I believe, and I'm sure Steve Benway has done a system thing on that. But yeah, this was the end of the table. Just moving on. We have the other side. Yeah, the other side with two Vectrexes. Vectrexi, well, I'm not sure. I think on this side of the table, near one end, I'm sure I took a picture of it. There was one machine that had an old style Famicom. I mean, the proper, Japanese. I think that was the Japanese edition ones, with a Japanese version of Star Wars on. I remember playing that on the Sunday. And the weird thing about this one is, although it looks great, you get to use the lightsaber and jump, and it's kind of a platformer. The main problem is just its weirdness, and that it's a bit brutal. It's not as brutal as the Super Star Wars series, where everybody still plays it because it's so damn polished, and everybody can see, how much work and effort had gone into it, and they keep playing it despite the fact how brutal it is. I mean, even I will sit down when I see it and have a game. The one that they had there was, on the Sunday, it was Empire Strikes Back. Yeah, so this game, it didn't take long for me to be able to get to the sound crawler section, and then you moved into it. And then, what was it you did? You did a couple of screens of beating up baddies, and then you crawled up to the top bit. Well, not crawled up, you got up to the top bit, and then you faced off against Darth Vader. After one hit, he turns into this kind of scorpion thing, and yeah, that was a bit weird. It took me a while to learn the movements, and I managed to kill it. And then the next section is going to R2-D2 up the stairs. And it's got this really annoying thing where if you go straight up to the barriers that kill you, if you go up and hit somewhere just before the barrier, it drops the barrier. It's really kind of strange because if you're not thinking about it, you'll end up wondering why you're dying all the time. Anyway, it was weird. It was interesting, but weird at the same time. Is there anything else in this I played? No, nothing else really. On the other side, I think there was a middle section I might have missed out on. I'm not too sure, but the one on the far left is DMXX playing Aliens. Now, on the Saturday, it wasn't playing Aliens, it was playing something else. When I sat down, because obviously I'm a big Aliens fan, and I was like, right, sitting down playing this, and the joystick on it is very horrible, really, really horrible. It's just almost too responsive to do anything, so I just couldn't get along with it. The game itself seemed okay, but the joystick, no, I just couldn't. No, really not my cup of tea was that joystick. Next one down was that's a Philips. I don't know what type of Philips machine it is. Was playing Bomb Jack for both the weekends, and I love Bomb Jack. It's a great game. Now, I played it on the arcades around the corner, and I wasn't very good at it, but when I'm playing it on this, because you can see the differences in terms of the tweaks of the AI, and the AI on arcade is obviously much better suited for that, because it's there to eat your coins. On the home console version, or at least, sorry, not home console version, on the home computer version, at least that one anyway, it was a lot less brutal, so I could manage to get to stage 10 before getting killed, but it was a lot easier, and it's still quite fun. It's still, that's just basically Bomb Jack anyway. Unless, of course, you play the sequel and then you realise you just want to play the first one again. And on the right hand side is Spectrum 48K, the rubber keyboard version, with a device attached to it called the Div IDE. This was mentioned in the Spectrum show by, is it Paul Jenkinson? I'll put a link to it around that Spectrum so you can see it. But yeah, the Div IDE is basically, it works like a flash card on the Amiga 1200s, where you can stick a load of games on it, and it's really easy to access. So the games they had was Booty, I'd seen, was on it. Batman, the very first one, the one where you've got to find the pieces of the Batmobile, the isometric game, that was that one. The one you can see now is Dizzy. I think he did have Jet Set Willy and Manic Miner, but I wanted a quick game of Dizzy, and I really wasn't that good at it. It's like, again, it goes back down to the keyboard, and my mum said we did actually have the rubber keyboard version, and I don't remember. I only remember the plus version with the QL keyboard, and to be honest, I feel that's a lot better responsiveness than the rubber keyboard, because I remember even playing, or having to play, when you're forced to play on the keyboard, it feels a lot better on that, on the QL version, not the rubber key. It just didn't sit with me at all. Or maybe I'm just out of practice, but no, it didn't sit with me at all, to be honest. So, anyway, next slide. Right, so now we've got one section of the arcade section. In fact, when you come in, the first thing you hit is the arcade. And my girlfriend was noting how dark it was, and I was like, well, yeah, that it's like how most people remember arcades. You walk in, it's dark, it's gloomy, it's smelly, but you hear the chiptune music of it, and you're just like, it's great. It's like, it's pretty much like Flynn's Arcade was in the Tron film. Dark, gloomy, but still a lot of fun. On this we've got, you won't be able to sit on properly, because obviously the picture's not that great. And I'll say, if I've not said before, the pictures are a bit better this time around. I did use the flash on occasion, but I didn't use the flash in the arcade bit because I felt a bit dubious about doing the flash. But anyway, the right side we've got Power Drift. That's I think I've managed to play that not long after the Saturday, because somebody had left it, so I managed to go and play it. That was interesting. Have I played it before? I think I have. It's got some interesting scaling attributes to it. I'm just trying to think of a game that's similar to it, in terms of the scrolling anyway. No, I can't think of one, to be honest. It is quite unique anyway. The one on the left is Space Harrier, and it's a sit-down cabinet. The joystick is similar to flight joysticks in the way that it was done. And to be fair, I did a lot better on the arcade version than I did in the whole home, I was going to say console, but yeah, there were some console releases, but on the Mega Drive. The Mega Drive had Space Harrier 2, but the Amiga ST versions of that game, I don't think I did as well as. Oh wait, hang on. There was another console version on the Mega Drive. It was 32X. It was the first one, and that really that's a really good game if you can get it, because it plays pretty much like the original arcade version, including the music, and nobody can say the music on Space Harrier is horrible, because it's really, really, how do I put it, memorable. Really good tracks, very, very good to play. I did feel a bit... Oh, the other thing to think about this that's weird about this particular car. One other thing about this arcade version that's weird is the fact that it has lots of buttons to shoot with. So you got one on the screen, not the screen, near the screen on the dashboard, and you got one trigger and you got one on the top, and they all do the same thing. And I found the trigger and the button on the top of the joystick to be a bit less responsive. So I tried the one on the dashboard, and the one on the dashboard is brilliant, because I couldn't really do lots of shots like kind of. It was just basically when I was on the joypad, it was just I couldn't get the speed out of it until I pressed the dashboard one. So to the right of that, and I know it's a bit out, and to the right of that you had quite a few more arcades. You had Sega Rally, which broke a bit. Got to the point where you couldn't turn left, you could only turn right, which wasn't very useful. There were some games of Centipede, Millipede. There were quite a number of Defender arcades, and I did have a couple of goes at that, and I'm really not that good at it. It's strange because of all the arcades that I know that come out around that end, they don't really have that many buttons. Sorry, that came out around that era. Whereas with Defender, you've got a joystick that only goes up and down, and when you're used to playing with joysticks that go left and right, it's like, you feel yourself going right, and then you realise, no, I can't do that because it's not doing anything. So that's to the left, you've got a joystick that goes up and down. And then immediately to the right of that, there's a button called reverse, and that's the only way you can actually go left and right. To the far end of that, there's two buttons, one with thrust and the other one with fire. And then you had the hyper bomb, which was situated below those. So it's almost like, it's almost like when people transitioned from Doom to Quake, they suddenly went from up, down, left, right, fire to up, down, left, right, fire, duck, open inventory, God knows what else, and it's just like, it's a bit daunting. But is it still fun? It is still fun to play, yeah, it is still fun to play. I had a couple of games of it, and it's just got that charm. I do love the way that when the ship explodes, it kind of does that firework explode effect. Yeah, it's a great machine. It's quite daunting in the buttons department, still a great machine though. So moving on. I'm trying to remember where this was actually. Oh, this'll be... Right, yeah, this'll be the top end. As soon as you go through the doors, you're kind of around this area. I don't know whether I took a picture. I think I might have done, so I might wait till the next section. So you've got... I'm not sure what on the left is. That's Gallagher in the middle. And you've got... Is it Crystal Castles on the right? Didn't play any of these. I do remember Crystal Castles because Steve Benway covered it. It's kind of like, I think was it a bear? And then you were going around picking up bits and pieces, it's kind of like cross between Pac-Man and Marble Madness, sort of. Not more Pac-Man based than Marble. I mean, the only reason why I'm thinking of Marble Madness is the type of pixelation. Well, not pixelation, the isometric style that it is. I can't remember that one. I mean, it was quite popular anyway, so most of these machines were quite popular. And the one thing that I remember is, if it's either going to be not being played on because it's either not popular or everybody's played it, or it's broken, which is what happened with me maybe 40% of the time. It's like, oh, it's available. Oh, this is why it's available. It's broken. Right, okay, next one. No, okay. I'm only saying no because I'm pretty sure I took a picture of the previous arcades, to the last one, which was Star Wars and Return of the Jedi. In fact, that's what the one on the left might have been, actually, yeah. It was Return of the Jedi. The raster-based one, which is, for those that don't know, is the non-vector-based one, or the one with sprites on. Finally got to play that game on a Saturday, but it broke to the point whereby as soon as I got past the first Ewok trap, it would reset straight away, which was really annoying. Couldn't get on the Star Wars one. That was just way too popular. The Star Wars one was basically the upright version with the strange flight joystick, as was the Return of the Jedi version. This particular section was where it split off into the middle. You got, going to the left, you got a game called Black Widow, which was a vector-based one. Did it use... Yeah, it was one of the first games I played on this with 2 joysticks. One for the movement and one for the firing, which is something I've never actually experienced before, so it was a bit strange to get used to. Yeah, Black Widow was basically you're a spider and you're shooting bugs and flies and picking up the remains, or it turned into dollar signs and you pick them up for bonuses, and it was fairly interesting. In fact, around the other side, one game that I did forget was Robotron 2084. Again, it was the dual stick, and it was, because I just started to get used to it. I could get used to it, but I still wasn't very good at that. So, yeah. Going to the left of this was the Tron machine. The Tron with a twirly, how do you call it? It's kind of like, I suppose you could call it like a knob. Twirly knob. Like, you know, when you get with your old hi-fi systems, you get that turning knob thing. And there was a standard joystick on the right-hand side. So, for some of the games whereby it was light bikes, I think you just used the joystick. But some of the games where it was like, get to the middle of the MCP controller, you'd have to move the guy with the right-hand stick, which was the proper joystick, sorry, and on the left-hand side you'd use the knob to turn his shooting arm. That was a bit weird to get into, but after a couple of games you kind of got it. Ooh, Arkanoid. Arkanoid with not a rollerball, it was that same kind of twirl, and yeah, so Arkanoid had the very similar joystick port to the Tron machine. And I say joystick, it wasn't joystick, it was the twirling knob. And it was very, very responsive. In fact, it made playing Arkanoid a lot easier. I remember playing Arkanoid with joysticks, and it's okay. And then when I play it with a mouse, it's a lot better. And playing it with that twirly knob thing was probably about equal or better than playing with either the other two, joystick or mouse. And if that, because that was the first time I played it on that sort of, first time I played Arkanoid in an arcade anyway. Yeah, I can imagine how people were like, yeah, play this in an arcade, God, it's so much better. And it's like, well, yeah, because you got the right joystick for it. So, I mean, it's like I know what it's like. The twirly knob also, it's like, the paddles where you turn that's pretty much what it was, like a smaller version of that. Frogger, played Frogger, that was at the far end. All classic style Frogger. I was a bit crap at it at first and then managed to get it. It was only a joystick because that's really what you need. It's just up, down, left, right. That's it, that's done. Anything else? This was on the side where Defender was. I can't think of any other games I played on this side. So going round the corner to the left, you got Cuba, didn't play that one. And then you got, the two guys that are looking at one machine, they're playing 1942. That was fairly popular. Didn't manage to get play on that one. There was, I think it was Indy 500 to the right of it, to the edge of that picture. And then to the right of that was Hard Driving, sit down cabinet. Not fully sit down cabinet, it's like, just open-ended. Wasn't like you feeling like you're sitting down. better description, sorry. It didn't feel like you were going to sit down in the old style Star Wars sit-down cabinet. It wasn't that. It was more open-ended, so you could see the seat. But the one thing that was a bit different about this version than other versions I'd played was the wheel. You literally had to turn it. It felt like a truck. You know, like big, kind of like hefty. Well, it wasn't a big, hefty thing. It's just like you felt like you were turning a truck because of the how tight the steering wheel was. That took a couple of goes because I was like, I'm sure I'm turning this fully. No, gotta keep going. Like, yep, finally got it all the way around. And I remember laughing at one point because because I always go on a stunt track because you can't not do the turn, the 360. And I'd crash at one point, and then I was put just a few meters behind the 360. So I started going up it, and then fell off halfway round, which was, I knew what had happened, and then I saw the replay and I was just killing myself laughing. And as I got up to go after the game, the guy behind me was kind of grinning because he kind of like saw what was going on. So, oh god, hard driving. You're a pain in the ass, but you're such a great game to play sometimes, especially in the arcades. To the right of that was a Battlezone arcade cabinet with the dual sticks. Was broken on the Saturday. Was very popular on Sunday when it was finally fixed. Space Invaders played that. That was the Space Invaders was the one with the is it the cell background? The one with where the TV is being mirrored onto the back surface, and the back surface was like a cell coloured effect. That was okay. I still suck at that sort of game. Not surprised really. To the far left of this, if I'm right, and yeah, I am on the right place. To the far left of this was Amidar. And that was one of those go around all the lines and you start colouring the centre points. I was okay at that one. Played pole position. With pole position, at least the steering wheel was not feeling like you were turning a truck on that one. But it was very loose. But I think that was the norm back in those days. Oh, on the right hand side of this is where Bomb Jack was. I had a couple of games of that. That was a good one. So in the centre of all this, you can see something, I think it was Sega's Hot Rod. Now the only reason why I've taken a picture of this one, and I'm pretty sure it's this that was doing it, was that every time I was going past, or at least in this area anyway, a particular tune was sounding, and it sounded like the shop bit in the original mode of Hang On that kept sounding, and I think it was that was doing it. Yeah, so that's the only reason why I'm showing this. Really, but actually on this picture you can actually see the Indy 500 straight away, and to the right of that, that's the edge of the hard driving screen. So we're moving over to the far back end, or at least one of the sections. On the far left hand side of the guy's head was the Gauntlet Legends machine that was completely broke for 2 days. Very disappointing really. You also had to the next one along from the right was Midnight Resistance. I had a couple of games of that. Now this was strange because the joystick, although it was up, down, left, right, it also had the ability to turn the joystick as well. And I know what the mechanic is basically so that you could move the guy up and because in Midnight Resistance basically you can have him shoot vertically, horizontally, and then all the angles in between. If I remember rightly, in the home port versions, you had to hold down the fire button and then move left and right to actually be able to do that. And then it was just standard hitting the button like this to do the firing. With this one, it was a case of you could turn a joystick, and it was another weird thing because I've never experienced it before. The one thing to note though, if you've played it and you're wondering why it wasn't moving, and you probably left it, I don't know, because it could have been the sort of thing that you might think was broken, but it isn't, is if you turn the joystick too many times, it wouldn't actually respond properly, so you had to turn it the other way to get it to get back to where it should have been. But yeah, Midnight Resistance was a good game. I think I enjoyed the flamer moves, because as soon as I got the flamer on a second, it just meant that I could obliterate lots of enemies on this. So next slide is someone sat down on a nice comfy seat area. Decided to take a picture of that because it's a nice image. Nice comfy seat, gaming, no problem. So round the corner behind that guy, there was Crossbow, which was very popular, and when it wasn't broken or not working. That was one thing I did find, was some of them were working, but like the hard driving arcade machines, they'd stop working because there's no credits in it. And some of the arcade machines did have modifications, so you could press a button underneath the control lip to hit for credits, but not all of them had it, unfortunately. I think that's what some of the problems were. Crossbow looked interesting, mainly for the fact that I know John Pio, is it, from MAME Arcade, showed that one. I'll put a link to that one around that box so you can go and have a look at that. Then there was Operation Thunderbolt. That wasn't working at all for both. Might have been working at the end of Sunday, don't remember that one. Mortal Kombat I tried to have a go at. Wasn't working. At some point there was Killer Instinct. Did it down there. I wasn't interested in that because I'm not really a fighty person. Like, without Mortal Kombat I can kind of play it, but I'm just not that good at those games. If it's something like Streets of Rage 2, then it's a bit different. On this side as well, at the far end, there was Super Smash TV. Again, it was a dual joystick affair, and I played that a lot more. I felt that one, in comparison to his other ones, this because this is Eugene Jarvis, he also did Robotron 2084, and I felt that Smash TV was probably one of the better ones out of the two, personally, for me anyway. I did enjoy it. I enjoyed the aspect that you were in a game show shooting things, and with all the pickups you could get, like you can get rocket launchers, spray shots, and it's really interesting anyway. If you've never played it, you should really have a, well, I say you should, at least have a go at it anyway. I had a couple of goes at that, just couldn't stop at some point because it's just that kind of really fun game. So the next area we've got the small arcade bits, or small arcade machines. Annoyingly on a Saturday, one of them had Alien vs Predator, and I was like, yeah, I'm going to play that tomorrow, and I didn't have it on. So I was a bit, like, kicking myself for not playing it when I saw it. I think one of them got replaced with Final Fight, and is that, I think that's Golden Axe I see there, because that looks like part of the turtle section. On the outside of the area, outside of the main area, there was a small section where I think last year, now I never went last year, but I do recognise the hall from some of the pictures from last year that somebody put up, was they had pinball machines here, and they didn't have any pinball machines this year, so I'm wondering whether a lot of people were disappointed with that. I'm not sure whether that was to do with the fact that they had the LAN gaming in, and that kind of took up space, or I don't know. If anybody knows what the reason is, that would be interesting to find out. But on this section, it seemed to be a bit more of the later consoles. Like you can see a couple of GameCubes there, and a PS2 which was playing Quake. Next section you've got, is it Samba? That must be Samba de Amigo on the right hand side on the Wii, because I don't know any other game that uses maracas. I'm not sure what the one on the left is. That was being played by quite a few kids and families. So moving further into the LAN gaming section, we have, what is that? I'm assuming that might be Unreal Tournament, or was it Quake 2? I know because the Unreal Tournament was on the far end. There was only 2 spots. I remember there was Doom. There was at least 4 bits of Doom and at least 4 Quake 2s. I was playing Quake 2 for quite a bit on Sunday because me and my girlfriend decided to have a quick game of Doom. But yeah, I kept kicking her ass, and she was like, "You know what? Sorry, I'm just gonna play original Doom. You know, it's a single player mode." Is that right? Fine, okay. It's like, because we were on the section called, I think it was Circle of Pain, where you start off and there's at least, I think there's is it 8 cubby holes. One of them has like a pack, one of them has like a plasma gun, and then you go straight through one cubby hole that has a door in. So I was like, right, and I only do 3 or 4 times, and she was not happy about it. And then I decided next time we had a play of it, I decided to go and play with the other people that were playing Quake 2, and I wasn't doing too badly at it. I think I was the only player out of them that actually managed to find on the first map anyway that I was playing on, the BFG 10K. So every time I died, went and picked up the BFG 10K, let it off a couple of times, and then like got a few people before I died, and yeah, it was all part of the fun, really. So this is a guy playing Carmageddon. Didn't play this time around. Was partly tempted to, but yeah, it was so-so. I mean, it did have quite a few people playing on the Saturday, not so much on the Sunday. I think so. Further down, another picture I didn't take was, I think StarCraft was on as well. So similar to last year, really. And moving on to the right-hand side of that guy was one point-and-click game. That's Indiana Jones and the Fate of Atlantis. Then you've got Dark Forces playing on DOSBox. And then you've got, as you can see, Half-Life. Didn't play any of those, wasn't in the mood. Do you remember one kid sat down playing it and then he kind of like exited to the DOS prompt and then was trying to figure out how to put it back on again? Because all you've got is a C:/, so I can see how daunting it is. He didn't get up and go off, he did try a couple of times. And one thing I noticed in both this section and the 80s BBC Play area, which is coming along soon, is they both typed in the same thing, or somebody typed in similar. It was play game, which I don't know. I just felt a little amusing, but I know I really shouldn't, because like we all didn't, we all typed in different things when we didn't know what the system was. But I decided to have a little bit of a chuckle over it. But anyway, when he'd gone, I did my geeky ownership thing and basically booted the game back up again, so it wasn't left at C prompt. In fact, I did that with another game. I think it was before we played on... No, this might have been a Saturday or earlier on a Sunday. The first photo I showed you with my missus playing on the BBC, one of them had been shut back down to... It was that same one, actually. It had been shut back down to basic. So I remembered what it was. It wasn't shift, it was one to the right shift. I think it was like shift lock. So if you hold down shift lock and press brake and let go, that will immediately kick the disk drive into action. I managed to reload that one. So, yeah. And here's the Doom section next to the Quake 2 section. Still classic game. Still great. It was actually on Skulltag, to be honest. I'd accidentally exited it because I was trying to remember how to do the LAN gaming. Because sometimes you can go on, you can find that somebody's switched it to single player mode. And then you got to remember how to put it back to multiplayer. And yeah, so I'd accidentally exited it, went, oh hell, and then it was like, oh, it's Skulltag, oh, it's gross. I didn't know people were still using it. Mainly for the fact that I remembered that Skulltag had stopped in development a couple of years ago, and was superseded by... Oh hell, what was it superseded by? I can't remember. It was superseded by something else. Because I remember the launches I remember playing from beginning to end was... When I first played Doom 2, I remember it being... I lent it off somebody, it was like, was it 15 discs on floppy? So that was loaded onto the old Windows 95 system. And then a few years later, I managed to pick up The Depths of Doom Trilogy, which was a big box, and it was a CD version. It had Doom 2, I think it had Ultimate Doom and Final Doom, and the Master Levels. Unfortunately, one of the discs was scratched, so I ended up taking it back. Well, not scratched, but not working, and so I ended up taking it back. Didn't have any other copies, so I ended up getting Ultimate 8, and that was my first Ultimate game. But those ones, and a copy of Final Doom that a mate once lent me was Doom 95, which was a launcher for Doom. So you could basically select which level you started at and what skill level it was, whether you wanted monsters to spawn or anything like that. It's an interesting program, was Doom 95. Then after that I went to Doom Legacy, and that was the first one I remember whereby you could jump in it, because this had been written after the source code had come out. So you could change your jumps, so you could, because you had a gravity option, and that's where you could change how high you could jump. I remember being geeky at one point and setting Doom 1 to the exact gravity that the moon was. That was a fun and interesting one. Yeah. Anyway, next slide. This is the Star Wars Star Trek area. So you can see this will be Elite Forces playing on this one. And they also had Jedi Outcast on one machine. It might have been two machines they might have had Jedi Outcast on. I think it was Outcast. I'm pretty sure it wasn't the third one. But yeah, did play on that one. This was the main stage area where they had, I think this is where they had the competitions. The competitions being who was the best gamer, and it was the overall game. You know, it's like, what was it they were saying? It was, you can play like one classic game, so it would be one fighting game, one driving game, one something or other. And it said that, you know, even if you weren't good at one game, you were good at the other, it would affect your score, and it was crazy. And go on it, because one, I'd suck at it really badly, and two, considering we were there for the entire weekend, as in Blackpool, we were doing other things as well, I couldn't see us, I couldn't, if this was in Manchester, I'd probably go for it, because like, I only live around the corner from where I did the last one, but there was no way I was going to get time to do that sort of thing, plus I wanted to see what else was here, so, yeah. I took one picture of this. I've already played. I didn't play it at that event, but I know somebody who's bought one of these and had a game and it's quite good. It's Steel Battalion. I think is it Steel Battalion? I think it is. But that's the joystick. I had to take a picture for that because, well, why not? And it's probably the only reason why you should get an Xbox. I said you should again, and I really shouldn't do, I'm sorry. But you'll see what I mean. It'll cost you like £100, and it doesn't come straight away, you've got to set it up. So, there's the left bit with the joystick is one part, the right bit with the joystick is one part, and the central part is one part. And not only that, you've got the foot pedals underneath that as well. It's a fun game, and takes a while to get used to, but it's definitely worth one to pick up, really. In the section where the traders were, and I tried to take a picture of this, I don't think it came out too well, seemed to be a load of consoles, and quite a few of them had the EverDrive stuff on. Now, the EverDrive it's basically like, when I said before about the Div IDE, where you can load a load of games on it, it's the same thing here. Except it's a Mega Drive cartridge, and you can probably see, if you look carefully, just to the top of that, you might see something red coming out of it, and that's the SD card where you can put all the games on and stuff like that. What I'll do is I'll put a review from Steve Benway on this bit, so you can have a look at how that works. But this section seemed to be quite a few of these that had it, and this was the other side of that. I think you can see something above the SNES cart, that'll be one, and there's definitely something above the N64 one. I couldn't see anything on the PlayStation. You can see something on the Atari 1200. I'm not sure about the Plus 3, the Spectrum Plus 3 there. But yeah, this was a small section between trailers and the main hall. In the 80s bit, you've got the BBC kits and stuff like that, including someone typing "kill yourself" as a syntax error thing. God, haven't we all done something like that? And then you've got the sections whereby people have typed in coding stuff. And yeah, I did actually try to type stuff in, but it was really annoying when you're hitting the wrong key and then you had to start all over again. So I decided I was going to do that. Right, so overall, pretty good experience. It was a lot smaller than the Play Manchester in some respect, because I remember how huge everything was and spaced out and stuff, and I know that it wasn't a bad venue. Anyway, yeah, so overall it was pretty good. We basically went to the Pleasure Beach and stuff after. I ended up playing a few of the games at the Pleasure Beach, because as soon as I saw the Aliens arcade, I jumped on that. So the first one I played was Aliens Extermination. Played it. It's not too bad. It's a bit brutally-ish in terms of how it's done. But it's not a bad shooter, to be fair. And then there was the other one that I played, I think it was Annihilation. Now, I think this was a rejigged, or it was the same kind of moulding as the Rambo machine, because it was one of those ones where you could pick the gun up. With Extermination, it's fixed to the actual device itself. The Annihilation is the one where you can pick up a gun, and it's got 3 buttons. You've got the standard shoot trigger and the grenade trigger. But under the magazine, there's another one where you can hit it, and it will reload the magazine. The one thing that was really off-putting with it was, because I'm busy trying to shoot things and concentrate when the next bit where I was supposed to shoot was when, unlike most other shooters like that, you generally shoot weapons that you want to change to, so you know when it gets changed. With this one, it was a case of cutscene of someone chucking you a weapon, and it was usually off screen, or you could kind of see it in the corner, but you were trying to ignore it because you were like, okay, I don't want to take my eyes off just in case I get owned by 7 aliens in the next scene. So that was a little off-putting, but you did get a good variety of weapons. You got to use a smart gun at least twice. You got to use the shotgun, assault rifle. I can't remember what else you used. There was a section where you were in the car, so you were shooting away. So it wasn't too bad, but the only gripe was how they were changing the weapons was a bit weird. So yeah, before I go, there'll be some takeaways now of what I bought. So the first section of what I bought is I got 4 Sega Saturn games. There's 3 here that I'm definitely showing: Road Rash, Hexen, and Gen War. Now Gen War is a bit weird because when I was reading the instruction manual, it's got another joystick called, I think it's a missions controller or something, and it looks a little bit like, I don't know how to put it. It's kind of like a deconstructed Atari Jaguar handheld kind of. It's weird. I'll show you a picture of it now, but very strange. And then the next one was the one I've been looking for ages, which is Blast Chamber. Yes, the game where you run around with a bomb strapped to you, and you also get to move the rooms. So there'll be a section an area where there'll be an arrow. So if you go towards the arrow, the room will shift, say 90 degrees to the left. So you'll have walked to that bit, but everybody else falls on their asses. It's a very good game. Very atmospheric, very action oriented. It's really worth picking up for the Saturn. You can also pick it up for the PlayStation. Don't know what else. I don't think it was. No, it wasn't for the Dreamcast. They were going to do a PC version of it, but the company folded. So there was only a PC demo, and I remember playing that. That's where I first played it. But I definitely wanted to get it for the Saturn if I ever got one, and now I do. It cost me about £7 for that, and in total for the rest of the games, about 33 quid. I think the most expensive was Road Rash being a tenner, and everything else was about 7-8 quid, something like that. This was £7 anyway. And the next pickup I got was these 2 GBA games. Super Mario Bros. 3, Super Mario Advance 4, and it's Super Mario Bros. 3, with you also got the original Mario Brothers game. Not Super Mario Brothers, Mario Brothers. The Mario Brothers game was a one-screen affair with you hitting... You know what, I'm just going to put a screen up now so you can see what it is. But actually, that was one of the arcade machines that was in play. I didn't play it because I played it enough to go, doesn't really make me want to jump and play it. So, yeah, so the next one is Final Fight 1. And it's not a bad conversion, to be fair. It's not 100% converted. It's got some changes, like, let's have a look. The females that jump and do the somersault are changed to males. You can hold down the fire button and he will completely just do this with his arms. As in, constantly punch if you hold it down, which I think is a bit... I thought it was a bit, and then when I tried it with some of the enemies, they were getting around it, so I think it was still a case of make sure you hit the button. In some cases, that kind of worked. The area with the boss with the dual swords is still a fucking pain in the arse. And then the first bit where you go down into the little room with the 2 fat guys, you don't get the iron pipe. That's been removed. Just trying to think of anything else. I think the section with the train carts, I think that's been chopped down to nothing really. Because I'm sure there was a section whereby you went down the railway, but you had to be careful of the rails coming in, and now that doesn't seem to be there. It was only a small section of it. So quite a bit of it's been cut down, but it's still enjoyable though. Very enjoyable. Those two were £6 for the Final Fight one and £12 for the Super Mario Brothers one. So I spent in total about 50 quid. So I rambled on enough, and that's my report for Play Blackpool. Next one's going to be in October, so I'll definitely do a report for that one. There is one thing before I go, and that's I actually met Steve Benway. It was on a Sunday actually. I did see him on the Saturday, but I had to get off and my missus was a bit ill, so we also had a lot of things to do, so we decided we were going to go, and I was hoping to see him on a Sunday anyway. So what happened was, we both left the hotel, and nicely the guy said, well, look after your stuff whilst you're still down at Norbreck. And she went to the drop-in centre to find out what was wrong with her. And she was like saying to me that she didn't want me to come, and it's fair enough, and I could go up to Norbreck, and I was like, right, okay. So I started walking up the sand from, we were staying in St Chad's Road, so there's a tram stop down below us. So I thought about waiting for the tram, and I thought, I can't be arsed, I'm going to start walking up, because it was like, to be honest, it was like 10 to 10. And I had to be there for I didn't have to be there, but they started at 10:30. So I thought, well, I'm going to go walk up the sand from St Chad's and walk up the beach and see how far I'll go. And I decided to stop around North Pier and come back up to get the tram. And this took me about 20 minutes walk, 30 minutes probably. So there I am, sat at North Pier tram station. And who walks past? Steve Benway. It's like, okay, this is a bit weird. Of all the places I could have met you, I met you pretty much outside the tram station. Was it 4 miles down from where you were staying? I think you were at Norbreck. Anyway, so we had a bit of a chat, and it was, it was a nice chat to Steve. I do have a couple of questions. You did say that you were buying some tat for your missus, so I'm wondering what tat you managed to buy. You didn't mention any in your video. Although I do remember you saying last year that you did do something similar, now that I think about it. And the other question I'd like to ask you is, are you coming to the Manchester one? Other than that, I will see you all later for another video. And bye for now. Bye.